Everyone knows the story of the Titanic, a legendary ship, a tragic night, and a disaster remembered across the world. But what many don't realize is that the Titanic was not the deadliest maritime tragedy in human history. Tonight, we uncover a far greater catastrophe, one so immense that it claimed the lives of over 9,000 people in a single night. A tragedy so devastating that it stands as the deadliest ship disaster ever recorded, yet remains unknown to most of the world. This is the story of the MV Wilhelm Gustloff, a ship overloaded with refugees, soldiers, mothers, children, desperately fleeing the horrors of war, in which more than 9,000 souls, frozen, drowned, or trapped below deck, vanished in one of the greatest losses of life in maritime history. Construction of the ship started on August 4th, 1936, at the Blohm and Voss shipyards in Hamburg, one of Germany's most advanced shipbuilding facilities of the time, forming a vessel over 208 meters long, equipped with modern safety features and built to carry thousands of passengers. Powered by four 9-cylinder diesel engines, producing 9,500 horsepower, the Wilhelm Gustloff was designed not for war, but for leisure. It could reach a speed of 15.5 knots and offered amenities rarely seen on passenger ships of that era. Comfortable cabins, wide promenades, dining halls, and spacious decks. After nearly 2 years of construction, the ship was completed and launched on May 5, 1937. Its early years were peaceful. Before the outbreak of World War II, the Wilhelm Gustloff sailed as a pleasure cruise ship under the Kraft Dirk Freude program, offering affordable vacations to German workers. When World War II began on September 1, 1939, with Germany's attack on Poland, everything changed for the Wilhelm Gustloff. The former pleasure cruise ship was immediately taken by the German Navy and converted into a hospital ship, serving in the early months of the war. By 1940, it was transformed again, this time into a floating barracks for thousands of U-boat trainees stationed at Gotenhafen. For years, it remained anchored, serving quietly as a training and accommodation vessel. As Germany began losing the war on every front, the pressure on the Wilhelm Gustloff grew rapidly. The Eastern Front collapsed, cities fell, and millions of civilians, soldiers, and wounded personnel fled toward the Baltic coast in desperate search of escape. With chaos spreading and the Red Army closing in, the ship, once a cruise liner, became a lifeline. Its decks filled far beyond capacity, overloaded with terrified refugees, exhausted soldiers, nurses, and families carrying whatever they could save. Every hour, more people arrived. Every minute, the need to evacuate grew more urgent. On 30 January 1945, the ship was scheduled to depart from the modern-day port of Gdynia, Poland, heading first toward Kiel and then onward to its final destination of Flensburg. At the very same time, the Soviet submarine S-13 departed from Hanko, Finland, moving silently into the Baltic. The submarine S-13 began tracking the vessel's slow movement through the frozen waters from port, finalizing its plan to intercept and sink it later that night. On 30 January 1945, the Wilhelm Gustloff began boarding more than 10,500 passengers, refugees, wounded soldiers, and naval personnel at the port of Gdynia. Despite the looming threat of submarine attacks, the urgent need to evacuate them left the captain with little choice. With icy waters stretching into the dark horizon, and no lights allowed to reveal the ship's position, navigating the frozen Baltic Sea was a daunting challenge. Every turn of the helm demanded precision. Every decision carried enormous responsibility. Under immense pressure, the ship finally departed, beginning its fateful journey into the cold, shadowed sea, unaware of the deadly threat lurking beneath the waves. The captain of the Wilhelm Gustloff faced a terrible choice. In total darkness, the icy Baltic Sea was a deadly trap. One wrong turn, and the ship could smash into an iceberg and sink. But turning on the lights could make the vessel an easy target for enemy submarines waiting below. Heart pounding, the captain made a fateful decision. The lights were turned on to a medium level, just enough to see, but dim enough to hide from danger. As the Wilhelm Gustloff, lights become visible, deep beneath the icy waves, the Soviet submarine S-13 silently drew closer. The crew watched every movement of the ship through sonar and periscope, heartbeats syncing with the rhythm of the dark sea. The submarine moved into its attack position, carefully calculating distance and angles. Every officer knew the target zones: the front, the middle, and the rear of the ship, precise points where torpedoes would strike to maximize the damage. The crew of the Soviet submarine had planned the attack with ruthless precision, showing no mercy, unleashing maximum destruction and unimaginable human loss. After careful calculations, the submarine crew launched their torpedoes, aiming precisely at the Wilhelm Gustloff. One after another, the torpedoes struck. Explosions tore through the ship, fires ignited, and panic spread among the passengers and crew. Flames and smoke erupted violently as the torpedoes tore through the Wilhelm Gustloff. Chaos consumed the decks. People shouted, lifeboats overturned, and screams echoed over the freezing sea. Within minutes, the ship began to tilt and then plunged completely beneath the icy waters. Out of more than 10,500 on board, approximately 9,400 perished, and only about 1,200 survived. This catastrophic sinking became the deadliest maritime disaster ever recorded, a tragic event forever etched in the history of mankind.